Stand for the reading of the word. John, the 5th chapter and the 1st verse. Everything in the house that got legs to stand, you ought to stand to your feet in reverence and respect to the word of God. John, the 5th chapter and the 1st verse. John, the 5th chapter and the 1st verse. When you have it, say amen. Amen. If you don't have it, say wait. Wait. You got to read along with us and listen because I can't hold everybody up. Amen. 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 And the Bible reads us, after this, there was the feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now, there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool. Somebody say a pool. Which in the Hebrew tongue, Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then first, after the troubling of the water, stepped in was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. And a certain man, somebody say a man, was there which had an infirmity 38 years. When Jesus saw him lie, and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he said unto him, wilt thou be made whole? The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have nobody, I have no man, I have no one, when the water is troubled, to put me into the pool. But while I am coming, another stepping down before me. Jesus said unto him, Rise. Somebody say, Rise. Rise. Look at your neighbor and say, Rise. Rise. Take up thy bed and walk. And immediately, somebody say, immediately. The man was made whole and took up his bed and walked. And on the same day was the Sabbath. The word of the Lord is already blessed. I want you to grab your neighbor by the hand and look at him eyeball to eyeball, contact to contact, and I just want you to prophesy to them and say, neighbor, the Lord would have me to let you know, don't quit. Look at another neighbor and tell your neighbor, say, neighbor, don't quit. You may be seated in the presence of our children. The Lord will have me to let you know today, don't quit. A lot of times in our life, we go through things and we grow through things and we feel like quitting. We feel like throwing in the towel. There are times in our life where the ways of life begin to be upon us and we feel like quitting. Is anybody in the house in agreement with me on today? Lord, history, John has 21 chapters, 878 verses, and 19,999 words. But out of all of that, the Lord spoke to me and said, I want you to talk about this man that had been sick for 38 long years. Now, some people in the church that are sick and don't even know they're sick. There are some people in the church that have been sitting by the pool and don't even know that they have been having a Bethesda experience. Look at this. What does it mean to quit something? To give up as in defeat. To stop. When you feel like quitting, it feels like, tell me if I'm wrong and I'll take my seat, but when you feel like quitting, it seems like the weight of life begins to weigh down on you. And when that happens, then you get a spirit of defeat as in, Lord, I can't do this anymore. Am I the only one in the house that has been to that point in your life? But there were times when the weight of life began to weigh down upon me, and I said, Lord, I don't feel like going on anymore. Am I the only one in the house? And it feels like a weight was on my shoulder, and every time there was one thing, another was slapping in the face again, and then I got to the point and said, Lord, I can't go on, I got to quit. But the Lord sent me here to tell somebody that has had that same experience, don't quit. Because Jesus is getting ready to meet you on that road. Let's tell this story more in depth. I'm sorry, I feel like David, I can't preach with all this on. Jesus went into Jerusalem, and while he was passing through, there was a feast going on. And while the feast was going on, and the city that he was passing through was Jerusalem. Somebody say Jerusalem. And in Jerusalem, was he sitting by the pool for 38 years? Well, let's check this out here and get more in depth inside of this. He was sitting by the pool for 38 years waiting for the angel to trouble the water. But every time, somebody say every time. Every time he was getting ready to step in, somebody went in before him. And he said, when Jesus said, man, will thou be made whole? Didn't even give him a formal greeting, didn't say, hello, how are you? My name is Jesus today. But he said, will thou be made whole? And when he asked him that, the man said, look, man, look, I ain't got nobody that when the angel comes to put me in the pool and the water is troubled once every season. And I can see Jesus sitting there looking at him and said, I didn't ask you that. Look at your neighbor and say, he didn't ask him that. He said, will thou be made whole? That's all he asked him. He didn't introduce himself. He didn't say, hello, my name, what's your name? He didn't say that. But out of all the people that were sitting by the pool, Jesus went to this man. And when he went to this man, he said, do you want to be made whole? Oh, Lord, I don't have nobody to put me in the pool when it's time for me to get them. I didn't ask you that. Do you want to be made whole? Do you want this from me? How bad do you want it? Let me make say, how bad do you want it? Jesus has said, how bad do you want it? I didn't ask you what your circumstance was. I know your condition. But I want to know, do you want to be made whole? Look at your neighbor and say, do you want to be made whole? But look at this. After he had given all of the excuses, known to man, and said, I don't have nobody to put me in the pool, Dad. I just can't, I can't even roll in the pool because every time I start to roll, somebody just kicked me back and said, I'm going in before you. And Jesus said, you know what? Rise. Take up your bed and walk. I can see the man sitting there and said, wait a minute. Who do you think? Wait a minute. He said, rise, take up thy bed and walk. And the Bible, it didn't say 48 hours. It didn't say 24 hours. It did not say 20 seconds. It didn't say 4 years from the date that was provided in the Bible. It didn't say that somebody screamed immediately. The Bible says immediately, which means right now. That the man rose and took up his bed and walked. There is something so interesting here in the story that there were 5 porches that were by the pool. And if you don't know biblical numerology, I'm going to give you a little history here. 10 being the number of the covenant. Somebody say the covenant. While half of 10 is what? 5 being the number of grace. According to biblical numerology, 5 is the number of grace. Somebody holler grace. Well, the Lord would have me to let you know that when you feel like quitting, oh, come on, somebody talk about faith today. The Lord would have me to let you know that you've been going through, and it seems like everything in your world has turned upside down. But the Lord says grace is with you. And I know it seems like that sometimes that it feels like that God has left your side. But God